Yep, you guessed it. The French Open are about to start, and this is, believe it or not, one of the original towels from the 1997, yep, I'm dating myself, French Open that I played in, and that was actually the year that I had my biggest success there, beating the former number 4 in the world, Helena Suková. Always been my favorite Grand Slam because it's red clay. That's what I grew up on. And so, yeah, I want to share with you who I think will win the titles. My name is Meike Babel. I'm a former top 30 WTA pro, 19 times Grand Slam competitor in the French Open, were incidentally also the first Grand Slam I ever qualified for. So big memories for me and a lot of fun to talk about. But before I'm giving you my picks of who I think will win, go down in the description, click on that link if you're here in the US, and fill out that little form because you can win one of these Meike Swag long sleeve shirt if you pick the right winners. So go ahead and give me your choices and let's get started with who I think will win the 2022 French Open. So I'll start with the women, and it's gonna be a pretty quick one because quite honestly, I don't see anybody beating this woman, Iga Swiatek. She has already proven, of course, that she can win there because that was her first Grand Slam title. And she has absolutely dominated since Ash Barty retired. She has won 5 titles in a row of the highest caliber, of the highest category there is on the WTA Tour. And she's beaten different opponents. She makes it look playful. It's incredible. The development that she has shown from last year, where she was always a contender for almost every title, to now with a new coach who has really instilled in her to use more offensive qualities. And here's some very interesting statistics. She hits with the same amount of rotation as Rafa Nadal on some of her forehands, not quite as stable or as regular as Rafa does, but she has the same firepower and she hits her backhand as hard as Dominic Thiem. So let that sink in. Pair that with incredible athletic genius. And I actually made a video about that. So if you want to check that out, it's down below in the link. She is an excellent mover. She is healthy. She has a great attitude towards being the person who is the one to beat. She looks super fresh. She looks super relaxed. So quite honestly, I don't see anybody taking the title away from her unless some weird mental thing happens and the occasion gets too big for her, which I kind of also don't see. So we have, as of late, great clay court player, Ons Jabeur. She's a great player, and I love watching her, but can she beat Iga Swiatek? I don't see it. Who else do we have? Barbora Krejcikova had obviously a great Roland Garros last year, defending champion, winning both singles and doubles, but has been just plagued by some kind of injury and hasn't really had the chance to compete a lot this year. So coming off an injury and having to defend your title, difficult. Paula Badosa has not had a great clay court season and just hasn't shown the stability to go 2 weeks and then take on Iga Swiatek, because that's the person everybody has to get by. And who else do we have? Next down the rankings, if we go just by the rankings, would be Maria Zakari, who has a lot of points to defend and who has proven to be a great clay court player. Again, Iga Swiatek. Don't see her beating Iga Swiatek right now. Then go down the rankings, really. Anett Kontaveit, hasn't had the greatest year and hasn't really been able to back up her stellar performance of the end of last year. And I would posit that clay is probably not her best or most successful surface. And then that's it. Aryna Sabalenka has been nowhere, basically. Karolina Pliskova, that's not her surface. And who of the newer people? Coco Gauff? You never know when she's going to explode, because she will. At some point, she will go really, really deep and make a final of a Grand Slam. Is it this year yet? This year's French Open? Don't know. Danielle Collins, Garbiñe Muguruza also have not had the greatest clay court season, especially not Garbiñe Muguruza. So yeah, I don't really see anybody beating Iga Swiatek. Famous last words, but a lot of things would have to go wrong for her to not win this. All right, let's go to the men's draw. It is super brutal. If you've seen the draw, you have Novak Djokovic and Rafa Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz in one half of the draw. And I'm going to pick the winner between one of those three. So you would have thought maybe Novak Djokovic is not doing so great, but that is one of the characteristics of a fantastic player. He is pinpoint able to get his form back up for one of the biggest tournaments of the year. And Novak Djokovic just won Rome. So he is right back there. Rafa Nadal, can you ever say he's out? No. The dude can literally play with crutches. When the time comes for Paris on red clay, he's on. Don't care if he's kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury. Something magical happens at this place for him. So he's always in the running. And then, of course, Carlos Alcaraz, who, would it be time for him to win the first Grand Slam of his career? Absolutely it would. And that he can beat all these guys, he has just shown several weeks ago when he beat Djokovic, Nadal, and Alexander Zverev on clay in a pretty devastating fashion. So it's between those three. And to be perfectly honest, if I want to be really dreamy about this, I would love to see Rafa win, because that guy is just, and if I could have had 0.001% of his fighting ability, of his tennis IQ, of his conviction that he can still get better at the age of 34, I would have been a much better player. So that guy is just hats off. But whoever comes through this half of the draw is going to win it. Because I don't see Alexander Zverev, who has been doing better lately. Because quite honestly, I don't think he can go 2 weeks without having some kind of breakdown, which is the euphemism now these days for complete freakout. Yeah, and you can also check out what I thought about his behavior in one of the videos that I made earlier this year. So not the greatest fan of that guy, even though he is German. Stefanos Tsitsipas. Okay, let's hold up here for a second. Can he make the finals? Yes. But I don't think he's going to win the whole thing, because one of those other three, either it's Novak Djokovic because he has so much left to prove and having to make up so much in lost admiration and support from people, or Rafa Nadal because, well, it's Rafa Nadal in Paris, or it's really Carlos Alcaraz's time to really break through. Tsitsipas is not going to beat whoever comes through that half of the court. Again, famous last words, and you can shove it right back into my face if he does win it. But that is, as of 2 weeks before the finals, that's my opinion. Anybody else out there? Let's go down the rankings. In the top 10, we have Andrei Rublev, Casper Ruud, Felix Auger-Aliassime. We have Matteo Berrettini. We have Cameron Norrie. Casper Ruud and Cam Norrie actually have just won the prep tournaments before the French Open. So they can play on clay. But can they do it then against one of the bigger favorites? So we'll see. And then, of course, I know, I didn't forget him, Daniil Medvedev. He hates clay. He hates clay. So if you're already going onto the court to a tournament that lasts 2 weeks, that has one of the trickiest surfaces to play, and you are telling the world that you don't like this surface, you're not going to win it. The endurance that you have, the conviction, the determination that you have to win a Grand Slam is almost superhuman anyways. Because especially in the spring in Europe, weather can change from one day to the next. Yes, of course, we have that at the other Grand Slams as well. But clay especially reacts really quickly and really distinctly and really dramatically to changes in the weather and temperature. So if it's hot and sunny, it's fast, especially that red clay in Paris. If you go to German clay courts, a little different because they're heavier and they're just playing a little different. But Paris, from one day, let's say 15 degrees Celsius and rainy, the courts are slow, and then sunny and 30 degrees Celsius 2 days later, 2 totally different tournaments. So again, you have to love that red stuff, and you have to love that, yeah, it can be really tricky to play. And if, again, in the beginning you tell everybody, and as seen a lot of times in whatever social media you're looking at, he's sitting on the bench, Daniil Medvedev, and saying like, I hate this surface. So no, don't have him. So to recap, on the women's side, Iga Swiatek's tournament to lose. And on the men's side, it's going to be between Djokovic and Nadal, and maybe Carlos Alcaraz. And my favorite player to win it, because it would be so perfect of a piece in the whole story of the comeback Nadal, would be if Nadal wins it.